Welcome back to I've Got Something to Tell You with Tayler and
Colleen.
Episode 21.
Woohoo!
I know. So exciting. I say that every
I know.
every
I like it when you're like, what number do you think is going to come next?
Next week, 22. It's so
What?
exciting.
We need to find a new intro besides just numbers.
I know.
Besides just proving that we can count.
I know. Okay, next episode. I will not say that. I'll
Doubt
try
it.
not
You're
to.
totally
I
gonna say
know. But anyway, so you had a funny story.
Oh.
Did you?
Well, so starting out, my husband is out of town and like day one already like immediately forgot how to function as an adult. So yesterday he left and then I had plans to go meet up with my mom and my aunt who's in town to go to dinner. And I'm ready on time. And I'm like, okay, ready to go. Can't find my keys anywhere. And so then eventually just gave up looking and Ubered to ordered an Uber to go to dinner. And then so I order the Uber and I go because of the way my neighborhood is set up. Like I have to go all the way to the very end of our driveway because otherwise they can't find us.
Yeah.
And so I go to the end of the driveway and I'm standing there and I'm looking, watching the app. And I love how it always does tell, they do tell you to check and make sure. So not Uber's fault, just putting this out there. But so it was a white Honda.
Yeah.
And it's it's a minute away. And then I see it coming down the street. And so white Honda pulls up. And I even feel like I remember waving at them and they pulled up a little bit more. So I go, I go and I
You didn't tell me that part.
So it's not my fault. Just fully got in somebody's car. It was not my Uber at all. But also I got pretty far in the car before she said anything.
And I was gonna say, after hearing about the waving them down thing, she sounds like a classic people. she's like, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
she comes over and she's like, okay, get in my car if you want to.
Well, and so she goes, no, I'm just delivering food. And I was like, well, what kind of food are you delivering? Because maybe that sounds better than the food I'm going to go get. But got out of the car, the Uber pulled up right behind them and I got in the appropriate car, told him what I just did and he laughed. But then we bonded. It was only a 5-minute drive, but he told me about how he's seen 2 ghosts and, somebody who has got abducted by an alien. So.
And that's very on brand.
Yeah.
And I feel like you just attract these people now.
I know. I feel like I could.
Because out of a 5-minute drive, how did you even get into that conversation?
I honestly don't even remember. And however, you know how when kids just start asking you a bunch of questions and you don't know where it's coming from?
Wait, are you the kid in the situation?
That's what I feel like I am. Is I just start getting excited that somebody wants to talk to me. So I ask them a million questions and I don't even remember how we got to the end of the conversation, but it's very exciting for me.
I wish I knew what the leading question was. I could see you just being, I have a podcast. Do you have any stories?
Just get right into it.
Did you tell him about the podcast?
I did, but that was only after he brought up his story because I was like, I don't know. Some people like it, some people don't. So I don't want to force people to talk about it,
Yeah. I will force people to talk about it. I'm just kidding.
Well, I guess
I'll force people to listen to me talk about it.
Yeah. People that I know I'll force, but strangers, I feel like that's an unwelcome thing sometimes. Do you want me to tell you about this murder that I heard about?
You're trapped in a car with me. Let me tell you.
You have to listen to me.
Because you can rate your passengers too. You should
I know.
see if he rated you.
I have
5 stars.
I do have a good Uber rating, but
do you?
I do.
Cool.
Yeah, surprisingly. But I also don't Uber that often, so it might be a lack of quality versus actual, or lack of quantity versus actual quality.
I know. I think I've maybe Ubered, called an Uber on my phone, maybe less than 10 times, probably.
I do remember I was in Austin with like some of my friends, one of them, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
And we were leaving like from being out at night. We had ordered and it was a big group of us. So we ordered like a van, and we get into the car and the guy like turns to Ashley, and Ashley's the one who had ordered it. He goes, "I'm surprised you showed up. You have a really bad score." And she was like, "What?
What?" Did she go back and look at her reviews?
Well, can you actually look at your reviews?
I think so.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're written reviews, but I know you could see like the stars. But it'd be cool if you could see the written reviews.
Yeah, because I know you can see the stars, and that she went and she looked, but she was like devastated.
She's like, "Damn."
Yeah, but now she's very proud that she's gotten her score back up.
Oh, she got it back up.
Yeah, this was like years ago, and I feel like it's
like a credit score.
Yeah,
she's like, "I'm gonna get this thing back up.
I'm gonna Uber freaking everywhere.
Even if I have to Uber to work, even though I have a car." That's funny.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, man.
But yeah, so I told Kyle about that. I was like, less than 24 hours, and I was almost abducted.
Was he surprised or no?
No. I did find my keys too, so.
I mean, it did make a really good story.
Cool.
So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks for going out of town, Kyle, so Colleen could lose her keys.
Yeah. So I can just like malfunction entirely.
Yeah. Well, I have a story for you. It's not a personal story, but I have a story to tell you today.
What?
Yeah. Can you believe it? So, I know this one isn't really a surprise, but Colleen, I've got something to tell you. So, today we're going to be covering mimics and doppelgangers. And I feel like you're going to like this one because there's like some like historical stories in there. Because you like historical stuff, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, I do. Like, I love like history and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I have said this on the podcast before. I'm not a huge fan of like historical murders because I just feel like there's like so much information lost throughout the years. And like so much of like true crime is like hearing from the people that were there. And
yeah, that's true. Because I feel like, well, in one of these, like one of the stories, there's like there's a slight difference in the two different versions of it, but they're not murders, so.
No, and I'm still excited. Sorry. Yeah. I'm like, no, I hate that.
You're like, you got it absolutely wrong.
Change your story right now.
Like, hold on. I'm like, shit.
No, I'm excited.
Okay, so mimics fall under a large umbrella of different folklore that all have one deeply unsettling thing in common, which is impersonating a loved one or someone who needs help, and they do this to lure you in. So, doppelgangers are believed to be malevolent beings that take on the form of an individual, often bringing misfortune or foretelling impending doom or even death. They're shape-shifting entities that have the ability to mimic the appearance of a person as well as their mannerisms. And according to the lore, they can read minds and shift into a person you're thinking about, which I did not know until reading about them, that they could read minds, because that is scary.
That is really scary. I have a question already. Sorry.
It's okay.
Is there something ever like, because in like the skinwalker stuff and like the other kind of like shape-shifting things that we've talked about, there's like always something like slightly off. Is that how like these are too, or are they pretty spot on?
So I'm actually gonna get to that.
Okay.
So really good question. But I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to put that in there. There's a lot of like cryptids and just like folklore or whatever that do mimic people. So that's why I was kind of saying it's a large umbrella because skinwalkers do that. Yeah. And then I think they said wendigos do that too. So but I was going to put that in here, but it's like a whole other story I think I want to cover because it's really interesting. Okay. So this is also how they pick up on the personality traits, making them indistinguishable from the person they're impersonating, since they can read like the person's mind and kind of like their relationship with them. However, even for as closely as they can mimic someone, there's always an unsettling aura about the person that usually gives it away. So kind of like what you were saying, like there's something slightly off where you're like, that's not the person. And it just reminds me of like probably like an icky feeling, which is makes it so much more creepier.
It's like sometimes when I know somebody like if Kyle texts from, like, if I give Kyle my phone to, like, text somebody, like, I read it back, I'm like, that is not how I text. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's such a good point. It's like you immediately know that's not them.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if have you seen, like, the mimic TikToks or no?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you haven't? They're creepy. And I mean, it's TikTok, so take it with a grain of salt. But
like, what are they? Like, what happens?
so they'll be mimicking, it's usually like somebody's like parent or something.
Okay.
And they're like, that's not my parent on the other side of the door. And they're like trying to open it and you kind of hear someone mumbling on the other end. But funny enough, though, I feel like the stories that I read, that's like kind of what happens is like, it's a name. It's like their parents calling them. They're like, they're not home though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of mimic TikToks that you can go down a rabbit hole with, and I did, but they are scary.
Okay, I'm not gonna watch.
They scare me. And so I don't remember if I've told you this, but the house that I lived in that you've been to.
Okay.
So you know how there's the kitchen, then there's like a archway to go, and then there's the office on the right side, and then on the left side you walk, and then it's like the entrance of the house and whatever. There's this one time, like in my peripheral, I saw my dad walk by, like from the office to the direction of like, kind of like the entrance of the house, like that center point. And it was just like, whatever, because he's home on Saturdays. But then I was in the kitchen and you can see like, there's like the double doors to the backyard. And I see him working in the backyard. And I was just like, because there are doors in my parents' room that go out to the backyard. Yeah. But it was almost way too fast for him to have gotten out.
Like
there.
He would have had to like run to be there. Yeah.
And the weird thing was too is like how quiet he I mean, you know I did.
Yeah.
Like even if he's just like walking and not saying anything, it's like there's like noise. And I just remember it being like silent. And I'm like, that was weird.
He doesn't pass by somebody without saying something.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he's gonna make some kind of comment. Or he's gonna be mumbling to himself at least and being like, shit. So that was my experience. And I just wanted to tell that before I forgot.
At least, okay. I was going to say, I feel like I'd rather have like a doppelganger than like a freaking skinwalker or something.
I think so too. If you can get past the like unsettling feeling.
Because like, what are they trying to accomplish?
That's what I don't know. I don't really know what they're trying to accomplish. But I just remembered another one. Different house though.
Okay.
I think. I don't think it happened in that one. But so the same house where I used to like hear my name, I would also like get like startled awake by sometimes I would hear my dad like yelling my name. He'd be like, Taylor, and be like, whoa. And because like he used to like, I would sleep in my sister's room sometimes and like we would be laughing till like probably like way too late. And he'd be like, stop. Like, you know what I mean? So it was like that kind of thing, but it like wasn't actually him, but it would like startle me awake. Like it was weird. And so I read some stories that it can also be like just the voice and not really the person.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, the word doppelganger became popular in 1848, being used in Catherine Crowe's book, The Night Side of Nature. However, doppelganger sightings have been happening since the 1600s. In 1612, Isaac Walton claimed that John Donne, the English metaphysical poet, saw his wife's doppelganger while in Paris on the same night as the stillbirth of their daughter. He claimed that he saw his wife pass by him twice in his room, with her hair hanging over her shoulders with a dead baby in her arms. He assured everyone that he had not slept and it was not a dream. So that was like 1612.
That's crazy.
Crazy. I know. Another occurrence in the 1600s, Queen Elizabeth said to have witnessed her doppelganger laying next to her in bed. She described her as looking pallid, shivered, and wan. I don't know what wan means, and I was going to look it up before this, and I forgot. I'm assuming it means like sickly kind of or
that's
something.
Like jaundice or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that like when you're like sunken in?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Queen Elizabeth was known to be strong of will, calm and sensible, and didn't typically believe in superstitions. However, she still felt that that was a bad sign. I mean, like, obviously.
Yeah. It's not a good one.
She's like, this means luck. So she died shortly after 1603.
Oh my God.
Another well-known historical sighting of a doppelganger occurred in 1860. Abraham Lincoln saw a ghostly double of himself in a mirror, looking sickly with a pale face shortly after he won the election. Mary, his wife, believed it was an omen of his death during the second term. And only a few months later, after his second election, Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth.
History.
See, that was for you.
Thank you.
And leading up to his death, he was also having vivid dreams of a president being killed. Like, not specifically him, but I guess it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
according to his wife. Another occurrence, the Empress of Russia, Catherine the Great, was asleep when her servants saw what they thought was her sitting on the throne. And when in reality, she was taking a nap. So after being woken up, she ordered that they shoot the doppelganger. And Catherine died of a stroke just weeks after that.
So are they pissed? Like
the doppelgangers?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, but it seems like a lot of people are seeing them and then dying. So it's not.
So I feel like these
great.
are the ones that are like, they're like an omen to be like, you're going to die.
Oh, okay.
But then we're going to get into more recent doppelganger stories, which nobody dies.
Okay.
But they're just off. So I'm going to read a few stories that I pulled from Reddit because, like, obviously present day stories are told through like internet forums, TikTok, those types of things.
Yep.
So first one. Around 15 years ago, when both of my kids were toddlers, I was putting them to bed one night and my son was adamant that he wear his favorite red race car pajamas. I happily obliged, helped him change into them and tucked him into bed. Then I sat down at my kitchen table with a friend who had come over to chat and catch up. The way that my apartment was set up, you could see my kid's bedroom doorway from the kitchen table. My friend and I were talking for a while before we suddenly were interrupted by the sound of my son screaming. We both turned and looked at the bedroom doorway and saw my son standing there loudly crying and shrieking and wearing his green pajamas with airplanes on them. Everything inside of me was screaming that this was wrong. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end, and a cold shiver down my spine. My friend and I wordlessly stared at each other for a second, and we both knew that my son couldn't change his pajamas by himself yet. We looked back at the doorway and my son was gone. We ran to the bedroom and found him tucked in bed, still sleeping peacefully in his red race car pajamas. My friend asked me if I saw him standing there in his green airplane pajamas, and I confirmed that I had. My friend freaked out and left. I slept on my kid's bedroom floor that night to make sure nothing happened to him. My friend and I still talk about it to this day. It's one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. My son, of course, doesn't remember any of it, but he loves hearing the story of how his doppelganger scared the crap out of us.
I was going to say, though, I would be that friend, though, who'd be like,
I was literally
sayonara.
Like, if that were us, like,
good luck with your demon child.
I know. I'd probably leave too, though.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I wouldn't expect you to stay. I would leave with you. Good luck, kid. Like,
I know. Like, it's not attached to me. I have a couple more stories. So the next one said, this happened to many of us girls that... Okay, so this is in response to the subreddit, which is, have you ever seen a mimic?
Okay.
So she said, this happened to many of us girls that worked together. We worked at a dog kennel place. Many weird things happened. We would hear each other speaking when we weren't even there that day. I would constantly see my manager standing next to me as I bathed the dogs, like she wanted to say something, but when I turned around, no one was there. We would randomly get called to the kennels or office, and when we got there, no one was looking for us. Sometimes our radios turned off and would go on and sound bring, they say like Fido, the dog, to the office for pickup. Get to the office with said dog, and no one had radioed, nor were the owners there. Twice, one of my friends texted me mad because she saw me talking to the manager on my day off and was upset I didn't go back and talk to her for a bit. I didn't go in. We called it the mimic or imitator, and it was always the same 3 of us that it mimicked.
Oh my God.
I know. I don't like that. Like, I wonder how they choose who to mimic.
Yeah.
They're like, we can mess with these 3 girls because they're all friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very creepy. At the company I used to work at, when I would go into the office, a lot of people, including myself, because it would be really quiet in there sometimes, depending what time you worked. If it was like super early in the morning or like later at night when everyone's gone. And we would hear our names like being called, but like kind of like whispered. And it wasn't just me. Like, it was me and like some of my friends and then like random people there. I'm just like, what? Bizarre.
It's just somebody like putting a little tape recorder in your guys' desk.
It's like the janitor.
Yeah. These freaking girls coming in early.
You're like, let's start some bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay. And last story. I had an experience once that may have been a mimic. My parents have a shore house, and I often go down with just my mom. Her bedroom is at one end of this long hallway, and mine is all the way at the other end. She knocked at my door one night while I was watching TV and said she heard my voice calling her over and over and asked what I wanted. I told her it wasn't me, and we were both confused. So about a minute after she left, I heard her calling my name. But when I opened the door, she wasn't there.
Oh my God.
So I went to her room and asked her if she said my name, and she didn't. We were so freaked out, she told me to get in her bed and watch TV for a while. At the time, I just thought it was the spirit of my aunt, which would be her sister, who passed trying to get us to spend time together, but now I'm not sure. We have a lot of paranormal activity in that house. It seems to be calmer now, but while she was having the kitchen renovated, we both experienced a lot of events while we were alone in the house. So I'm wondering if it's something in the house and it's like, you're changing my house.
Yeah.
And you're gonna so you're like rattling them.
Yeah.
And they're gonna mess with you.
I think so. I think that, like, remember when we went to that historical house when we went to the tea party?
The Peterson? House?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl was like, yeah, we haven't really had like spirits in the sense of like they know there are spirits in the house, but like they're not aggressive. They're just like there.
Mm-hmm.
But then she said the only time that one actually got like maybe a little aggressive,
Upset
is a better word, was when that one like contractor was messing with the house and they were having like, and he was being kind of like a jerk.
Yeah. So it was like protective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was probably protective over the people that like take care of the house because it's like that was their home.
Yeah.
You know?
I think so too.
Yeah.
This Instagram keeps coming up on my reels, and it's this family that bought a house in the Appalachians. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. It's the West Virginia part. But so it's like a really old house. Like, I think it's from like the 1800s or something. And it looks like it hasn't been lived in forever. And the house comes with like all these little like cabins around the Appalachians. And it is like, I have goosebumps. I have to show you because it's just creepy.
Okay.
And like, they don't seem afraid at all. It's like one of those Instagrams where they're like, we're like buying a house and renovating it. And it's just like, the comments are like, you know, that thing is like haunted, right?
Yeah. Get out of there.
I know. And I found it on Zillow too.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. I had to see. Because I was like, for today's climate, it's not very expensive. It's like $250,000 for like this huge house and all these cabins, which it sounds like a
what
good
are you gonna
deal.
do with all those cabins?
I don't know. But she was like, she made a video and she was like, nobody wants this house. That's why it's cheap. Because it's like
because it's haunted.
Yeah. It's literally off the grid and it's haunted. That's so scary. You have nowhere to go. You could go to like one of the cabins. It's probably more haunted.
Yeah. All of this sounds like a terrible idea.
No.
love that they're happy with their choice, but
I'm
seems like a
I'll be
poor one to
watching
me.
from afar, like the updates. So I can't wait to see what happens when they really start renovating it. And
you won't see because they'll be dead.
Well, it'll make a good story for the podcast.
Okay, content. Always looking for more content.
Heck yeah. But anyway, that was the story of mimics and doppelgangers.
I liked it.
Thank you. Do you want to take a break and then we'll get into your story?
Let's do it.
Okay. And we're back.
We are back. And Taylor, I've got something to tell you. That's how this podcast works.
Way.
So my story is going to take place in a city that I think one day we need to go to. Have you ever been to New Orleans?
No.
Okay,
I want to.
I know. And do you remember when our parents went to Jazz Fest that one time and they both happened to be there at the same time?
Like we should have been there with them.
Like I remember you sending me a picture. I was like, my parents are there too.
They're like both just living their best lives.
Yeah,
and
just
we're here.
not inviting us anywhere. But anyway, so yeah, my story is going to take place in New Orleans. And
cool.
All right, let's just get right into it. So setting the stage. Mm-hmm. I know I just said I don't like historical, but and I was like, I'm going to be putting my foot in my mouth like the second that I said that. So, oops.
Whoopsies.
The whoopsies are going to happen every episode. I mean, it's 1918, so at least it's not like 1800s. So,
oh, okay.
Listen,
mine was way too old. You're like, I like a little historical.
Kyle's gone. I can't seem to like take care of myself. You're
like, I'm just gonna blame Kyle.
Yeah, his fault. But so it is 1918 New Orleans, and this city is hopping. So it's buzzing with life and energy. And even though we're more than like 100 years from the New Orleans that we know today, you can already see that the pieces are coming together and like the city's really starting to grow. So what's going on in 1918? We've got a growing working class population. People like butchers and dock workers and grocery store owners are starting to make a living, and a lot of these folks are immigrants. They're mostly Italian, Irish, and German, and they're building these like tight-knit family-based communities. So a lot of people are migrating into New Orleans to take advantage of like the growing working class and the ability to open their own business, especially people immigrating. Mm-hmm. So, but New Orleans isn't just about hard work, it's also about art. And at the center of it all is jazz. Mm-hmm. And jazz is everywhere. It's like blasting out of bars. Like they talk about it like you would just walk the streets and just hear music and stuff. So it's kind of this like magical moment of like all these artists and people making a life for themselves, all moving into the city. And then this era of jazz is like around like the time of Louis Armstrong. And I'm going to sound so ignorant. I've never heard this person's name before, so then I went into a deep dive of, like, who he was.
Louis Armstrong?
No, I knew who Louis Armstrong is. I'm not an absolute idiot. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say I'm kind of surprised.
I did not mean to snap at you like that.
I mean, understandable.
But Jelly Roll Morton was another guy that was really big during that time.
Wait, Jelly Roll?
Yeah. And
Isn't there a recent Jelly Roll?
There's a recent Jelly Roll, and I did Google it because that's what I thought too.
Was he like inspired by the
I looked it up because I thought maybe he was inspired, but it was a nickname that he had as like a kid. But maybe his mom knew.
Nickname?
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
Like, do not call me Jelly Roll.
I would
probably cry.
kill you. Yeah. I would never, I would never recover. But so it's like this like very like thriving like jazz time.
Yeah.
So it's exciting and new, jazz is exciting and new, and people love dancing to it. They drink to it, and they're just living their lives. So New Orleans is becoming the place if you wanted to have a good time. However, while the city is growing, someone's always got to ruin the party, and that buzzkill.
Party pooper.
Not yet. So the buzzkill is the Spanish flu.
Oh.
And the Spanish flu was brutal. It hit in 1918, and it was one of the deadliest pandemics in history. It was a virus that infected a third of the world's population and killed millions of people.
That is a buzzkill.
It was a buzzkill. And New Orleans was hit hard. But so also because New Orleans is a port city, it's a major hub for trade. So like while they have all of these like trade workers coming in, they also have people constantly coming and going from the port. So ships are docking, goods are being unloaded, and workers are moving around the city like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this perfect storm and spread is what I just combined, just so you know.
The perfect storm.
Yep. For the virus to spread. So at the time, people didn't really understand how the flu worked. They didn't know about germs or how diseases spread. So the idea of social distancing wasn't even a thing. Instead, you had crowded streets, packed neighborhoods, and these like open air markets where people will just fill them up, and they would have like different merchants and stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
So despite the flu wiping out people left and right, New Orleans just kept on moving. The city did not shut down like you'd expect. People still went to work. They still gathered in bars and still danced to jazz. It was like they were trying to party their way through the apocalypse.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. All right. So we've got the city that is like alive, like even in the middle of the pandemic. So New Orleans is still doing its thing. And even though with all that jazz, something dark is brewing.
I can hear that in your voice that you're really excited
I
to
was
say.
really excited.
She had her hand on her.
I did a
even with all that jazz.
Yeah.
I can just hear it.
Thank you.
Cue the round of applause.
Thank you. Well, so now we get into something darker, because in May 1918, right in middle of this already messy year, that's when the murders start.
I feel like when I'm like really into the beginnings, like when you're like really like setting the scene, I almost forget it's a murder.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, shit.
I was like, oh, no.
Well, now we get into it. So first up, we are going to talk about Joseph and Catherine Maggio. They're this like sweet Italian couple who own a little grocery store in a quiet neighborhood. They live in the apartment right above their shop, which is pretty typical at the time. Most owners are like shop owners. They actually just had an apartment. Mm-hmm. And so it was like really easy for them to, you know,
go up and down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The commute was simple. And so they're making a good living and they're very comfortable. But on the morning of May 23rd, 1918, their neighbors noticed something weird because their grocery store hadn't opened and Joseph and Catherine aren't answering their apartment door. So at first people assume maybe they're sick. You know, remember the flu's going around, so people are getting sick pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
But when neighbors finally decide to check on them, they find something so much worse. Joseph and Catherine are both dead, and not just dead, they have been brutally murdered.
Oh.
Their throats have both been slashed with a straight razor. So like,
oh my God.
Like think barber, like kind of thing, like
no,
Sweeney Todd style. Do you want me to keep describing it?
No.
Okay, because I'm going to anyways. Catherine her throat had been slashed so deep that she was almost decapitated. And then Joseph's head has been smashed in with an axe, and there is blood everywhere. It is on the walls, the floor, the bed. Damn. It's a complete nightmare. I mean, to hit somebody with an axe, like, think about it. You're hitting them, which is already a violent thing, but then when you lift it back up, there's blood on the axe, which is like splattering everywhere.
So they're like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just swinging my arms around.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But so then here's where it gets even creepier is that the back door of their apartment had been chiseled open. So
like chiseled with an axe?
No, like with a chisel.
I forgot. Wait, what's a chisel again?
It's like
when you're like,
yeah, but just like the pointy one. Like you use like a chisel and then you use a hammer and then you chisel. And I feel like me just saying chisel over and over again is not giving you the answer that you're looking for.
No, I know now, but how would they not hear that? Because like that's to take some time to chisel it.
Well, that's the creepy part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I could just hear that, like, do you hear that? Sounds like someone's trying to chisel the door.
Yeah, like the killer literally carved their way inside the house.
That's crazy.
And so, like, if someone was that determined, you'd also be assuming that they would be like wanting something from the house, but nothing was stolen. Like
they just wanted to kill them.
They just killed them.
Jeez.
I mean, if you're chiseling and you're quiet, like that's probably got to take a while.
That probably took like literally all night.
Yeah. So then, that's why it's so violent, because he's freaking pissed off after chiseling for like hours.
So he just really like lets loose.
Yeah.
Like, after he gets in there, after like being like, ding,
he's
ding,
like,
ding,
really?
ding.
They're like, you didn't have to chisel. Like, if that's what, if that's what you're so angry about, maybe we just cut out step 1, and then everybody's okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, so now the police are involved, and they're like, what the hell is this? Because it, like I said, doesn't look like a robbery. And now with the determination of getting into the house, someone specifically came in to kill Joseph and Catherine, but they don't know why, because again, they're just like this sweet couple that was very like loved in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So the police are stumped. There are no witnesses, no fingerprints, which I brought up fingerprints in the last one, and I meant to look up, when did fingerprinting become a thing?
Oh.
Don't let me forget to do that.
Okay.
Because I question if they can get maybe in the 1900s. Okay. Anyways.
Yeah.
So there's no fingerprints because they can't get them. Just kidding. And then there's like no obvious motive because, again, well-loved couple.
Yeah.
So the only clues they have are the razor used to slash the necks, the axe, and both of those things are left behind. And then also the fact that the back door was chiseled open.
Wild that you can literally leave the murder weapons behind and there's no fingerprints.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
That becomes a theme.
Dang.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good job, Detective Taylor. So it's basically, like you just said, it's like the killer just appeared out of like thin air.
Mm-hmm.
Whacked them, left nothing behind. So the police are stumped, and for a little while, the city is like kind of offset by this. So like, well, I'm sure there had been previous crimes, nothing to like this extent and this gruesome.
Yeah.
So after a while, the city does try to move on. People are shaken, but they figure maybe it's a one-time thing and just like a freak event.
Mm-hmm.
But then just a few weeks later, it happens again.
Dang.
So now it's June 27th, 1918, and Louis Besumer, Besumer. I know it's Louis, but I don't know if I pronounce it.
Sounds right.
Louis Besumer owns a little grocery store, and of course, it's another grocer.
I was just going to say, is that a theme too?
And just like Joseph and Catherine Maggio, Louis, and he's actually with his mistress, live in an apartment above the shop. So now it's early morning and the store isn't open. A delivery and they hadn't opened just yet. So not unusual, just before store hours.
Yeah.
But a delivery driver shows up to drop off some goods, but when he knocks, there's no answer. So he waits a bit, knocks again. This is unlike Louis to not answer the door. And so he gets to a point where he's like, okay, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes around the back and finds, guess what?
A chisel?
the door chiseled open.
Bizarre.
Yeah. So when he steps inside, he finds Louis and Harriet in their bed. And again, it is bad. They are covered in blood, but they're barely breathing. So the room is a complete mess. Louis has been hit in the head with an axe, and Harriet's skull has been fractured, and there's blood again.
And they're still breathing?
Everywhere. Yeah. They are both still alive, barely, but alive. Mm-hmm. And even though Louis's head has been split open, the man somehow manages to stand up and get to his shop, and he ends up calling for help. I don't know why the delivery guy didn't do anything, but
he's like, "You're no help. Get out of the way."
Yeah. I got to do everything around here.
Got to stand up with a split skull.
Yeah. So the police come rushing in, and they're immediately like, "Not this again. This guy, stop selling people chisels, everybody." So the scene is like obviously eerily similar to the Maggio murders, and things get interesting because unlike the Maggio murders, both Louis and Harriet do survive. So naturally the police are like, well, now maybe we'll get some answers because now this has happened twice.
Yeah.
Spoiler, no, they don't. So here's the thing about getting hit in the head with an axe is it messes with your memory. And so Louis and Harriet are both in rough shape. And
oh, that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Like you literally were going to get murdered and now you can't remember who did it.
Yeah.
So you don't know who to look out for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Harriet does finally manage to talk. And she tells the police she thinks the attacker actually might have been one of Louis's ex-employees. Or maybe she meant to say axe employees.
I liked the jazz one better.
Thanks. Well, sorry. I'll get better, I promise. Actually,
I was saying my favorite.
Yeah, I think that's my last pun. So, so anyways, this sounds promising. It makes sense. Like this is kind of a, not an original motive, but a disgruntled employee who might have a grudge would make sense. Mm-hmm. But Harriet's condition is getting really bad and she starts changing her story.
Oh, no.
And then at one point she even blames Louis and Louis like, what the fuck?
She's like, it was him. Yeah. His head's like in half.
Yeah. He's still got the axe in his head.
Oh my God, I just pictured that.
So Harriet isn't really credible anymore.
They just stopped taking notes and closed the book.
So she's like, they did it.
The police officer, you did it.
She takes the axe. She's like, hold this for a second. He did it.
She's like, you know what? I think I did it. It's enough, Harriet.
So they do end up arresting the guy that she had originally claimed, but then they're like, okay, now crazy Harriet. Harriet with the hatchet doesn't know what she's talking about, and so they let the guy go.
And the guy's probably like, what the fuck?
He's like, I don't even live in New Orleans.
I worked for them one summer.
So they let the guy go and it's just chaos. The investigation basically goes nowhere and Harriet ends up taking a turn for the worse and she passes away. I feel like they probably just hit her one more time.
We really can't take these accusations. She's just spewing out. Yeah. It was probably her husband. Just kidding.
Well, she accused him.
Yeah.
So she ends up actually passing away like several weeks later. And there were like a couple different things that they said, I mean, I assume the axe wound had a pretty significant part of why she passed away. But I did read something sad that she was really insecure because of it like being to her face, that she went to the doctor to like get it fixed. And
where
she
was
actually
the axe in like the middle of her face?
I don't know.
She just wanted to get rid of the mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it said that she was hit in the head, so I assume like there was something that was like structurally different that she wanted fixed, and she might have passed away from the surgery.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So that was just one thing I read though. So who knows if it's true or not, but
yeah,
Harriet did not make it. But now we're going to fast forward to August 5th, 1918. And we're talking the attack on Joseph Romano. And this is one of the only attacks that actually gives a glimpse of the Axeman.
The Axeman?
Yeah. So they start calling. That was a really bad reveal of that name. This is
I thought it was good.
Okay. So this is the Axeman of New Orleans.
They should have given him the Chisel Man, though.
Yeah, but then I feel like that maybe like could be swayed into like he's chiseled, like buff.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking it'd make him sound worse, but you're right.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm chiseled.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do a spin, a PR, like
Dang,
change that narrative real fast. So this is the only thing that gives us the glimpse of the Axeman. Mm-hmm. And so it's August 10th, 1918. Joseph Romano is an elderly Italian grocer because, of course, he's an Italian grocer, just like the other two. He lives with his two nieces, Pauline and Mary Bruno, in a small house. And it's a quiet night, and the girls are asleep in their rooms when they start hearing strange noises coming from their uncle's room. When they rush to see what's going on, they find their uncle bleeding out on the floor. He's been struck in the head with an axe, and he is struggling to stay conscious. Now, here's where it gets chilling. So Pauline and Mary are panicking, and they're trying to help their uncle, but they catch a glimpse of a man out of the corner of their eye fleeing the house. They don't get a really good look at him, but they describe him as a tall, heavy-set man wearing a dark suit and a slouched hat. And a lot of people
Italian mob?
Detective Taylor.
Really?
I'm going to go into theories later.
Oh, okay.
No, okay.
I mean, it sounded like how a Italian mob guy would dress in a cartoon.
Well, I was going to think that you might have gone to Hatman.
Oh, that would be very gruesome of Hatman.
Yeah.
I don't think Hatman was heavy set though.
Yeah, you're right. He's
like slender.
And also rude.
Not to fat shame.
Yeah. Heavy set? Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, did you say heavy set or did I make that up?
No, I did.
Okay, I was like, wait, I just like made him heavy set.
But I thought you were going to be more excited about the hat, so we're just going to skip over the hat.
How big was the
people
brim?
There's a lot of people that go real into this hat, but
really?
Yes, one of the things is that like because it's described as like a slouched hat, that was kind of a trend for more of like mafia mob type people. Mm-hmm. So whether they actually got a real good look at the hat or not, that's enough hat talk. Moving on. But it is a big deal that the fact that anyone saw anything, because they have not like been able to see this guy at all. Nobody's had even a glimpse. So unfortunately, Joseph does not survive his injuries, and he does die shortly after the attack, leaving the police with yet another unsolved case. And just like in the other attacks, the back door of the house had been chiseled open and nothing was stolen. The axe was left behind. And so now it's feeling like Axeman has his MO, you know? Mm-hmm. So now the city is on edge. People start locking their doors, which like wasn't really a thing back then. You know, I feel like we all know to like keep security tight, but it took a while for people to understand that. Yeah. I don't know why it took an Axeman to do that. But also families start sleeping in shifts. So they'll actually keep somebody awake to like watch over the rest of the family so that if anybody does intrude, they can like warn the family or get
That's a
like
good
call
idea.
for help. Do you think we should implement that into our own homes? Or just, yeah, never mind.
Like, he could just be awake all night.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Can't sacrifice.
I could not stay awake all night to save my life. And then also because of the trend of the attacks happening on grocery store owners, specifically Italian grocery store owners, they become terrified because now they're like, he's coming after us.
Oh, that's scary.
So New Orleans, as we probably all know, has a haunted history.
Mm-hmm.
And so theories start to arise. And one of them is that Axeman isn't a man at all, that he is actually some sort of ghostly or paranormal figure, or dare I say, demon.
Whoa.
Because there's like they see the chiseling to get into the house, but then there's like no proof of somebody actually in the house, nothing stolen, and then it just seems like he disappears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you'd think that like if he's leaving the axe, they're gonna figure out who's buying all the axes in town, unless he's like buying them somewhere else.
He tends to, I guess a lot of people just had axes laying around in their house because a lot of the axes were actually like already in their home, and he was using them.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing, is he would use what was already like in the house.
Would he take his chisel?
Yeah, he seemed pretty attached to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just wondering.
Well,
he's like, this I need.
This coming with me. So seems like things can't get any worse, but the Axeman takes it up a whole notch. And on March 13th, 1919, the Times-Picayune, which is the big newspaper in New Orleans, gets a letter. And it is from the Axeman himself. So you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. So it starts, Hell, March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal, they have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know who they will be. But I'm very fond of jazz music.
It's like his dating profile.
Oh my God, that would actually be amazing.
Loves jazz music. Hates Italian grocers.
Loves chiseling. So he says, but I'm very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing. If everyone has a jazz band going, so much the better for you people. On this thing, one thing is certain, some of your people who do not jazz it on a Tuesday night will get the axe.
Oh my God.
The Axeman.
That's very, I get that he wants the party to go like all night. Respect there.
Well,
if you do not jazz it on a Tuesday night,
jazz it on
it. I did not think it would go that direction. So they have to have, did he say a band playing in
they
the
have
house?
to be playing jazz music at least.
Oh,
so
from like 24/7?
Mm-hmm. They have to jazz it.
Oh my God.
So what New Orleans says, say less. They go all in.
Dang.
So
They
on the
gave him
night
what he
of
wanted.
March, sorry.
Oh, I just said they gave him what he wanted.
Yeah, well, they were like, I mean, less more.
They're like, all right.
We don't need an excuse to party. So on the night of March 19th, 1919, the entire city turns into one big jazz festival. Bands are playing on street corners. Families are cranking up the music in their houses, and bars are packed wall to wall. Bars also extend their hours. So like, because one of the things is they're like, well, one, they want to party. But two, they're like, safety in numbers. Like, come to my bar and like we'll stay open late for you guys. So
they're like, it's for safety.
Yeah, it's
they're
safety.
Like, drink more shots.
Let's go. But it works. That night, not a single person is killed. So just when the city thought maybe we've seen the last of Axeman, he came back. So August 10th, 1919, just a few months after they jazz it up, a man named Steve Bocca, who is another Italian grocer, this Axeman has a type, is attacked in his home. Steve actually survives the attack, but it is terrifying. So he wakes up in the middle of the night to a shadowy figure standing over him holding an axe. And before he can react, the figure strikes him in the head. Somehow Steve manages to stumble out of his house and make it to a friend's house for help. And when the police investigate, they find the same pattern. Back door chiseled open, axe left behind, nothing is stolen. So they're like, Axeman is back. Oh. Freaking gay. Not even a month later, on September 2nd, 1919, the Axeman strikes again. This time, the victim is a 19-year-old woman named Sarah Lohman. And Sarah is found unconscious in her bed with severe head injuries and several missing teeth. So he had knocked her teeth out.
Dang.
She's been attacked with, you guessed it, an axe. The door of her home has been chiseled open, just like in the other cases. Here's another twist. Sarah also survives, and when she wakes up, she has no memory of the attack or any idea who could have done it. So, October 27th, 1919, Mike Pepitone. This is the final known attack of the Axeman. He is yet another Italian grocer, and he is found dead in his home. And so Mike's wife wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of like struggles.
Yeah.
And when she rushes into the bedroom, she finds her husband laying in a pool of blood. He has been struck in the head with an axe. And this time the scene is a little different. Like there's more blood than usual. And like it's whoever did it like went on a complete frenzy. So like all of the other scenes are definitely bloody, but they just say that this one just was like unhinged. Like blood was everywhere. So it was, a complete frenzy attack. Door has been chiseled open and nothing is stolen. And then his wife does say that she saw a figure fleeing the scene, but it wasn't as clear as what the girls saw, and that it was way too like far in the distance to even know if it was related to what had happened in their house. And she couldn't make out any like discernible,
So he's pretty quick.
Well, Axeman.
Or Axeman.
Yeah. Maybe they're in on it together.
Maybe.
So what makes this so interesting is after the attack on Mike, the Axeman just disappears. There's
forever.
No more attacks, no more letters, nothing. It's like he just vanished.
So they never
found him.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So to this day, no one has been able to figure out exactly who the Axeman was, why he targeted grocers, or why he spared the people who played jazz that night. That doesn't mean people don't have theories, though.
So many questions.
So we're going to go into the theories around Axeman now.
Okay.
So theory number 1 is kind of the basic serial killer theory. So this is the most like straightforward explanation that the Axeman was just your classic serial killer, someone who killed for the thrill or out of some type of like twisted compulsion. He did follow a clear pattern. We know the chiseling, the attacking with the axe, leaving the weapons behind, not stealing anything. And then serial killers often thrive on fear or control. So the ability to have the entire city like at his command on that jazz night was definitely a sign of potentially serial killer.
Yeah, I could see that. It's like, what can I make them do?
Exactly. So this is one that you brought up. Theory number 2 is the mob hitman theory. So this theory suggests that the Axeman wasn't just a random killer, but he was a professional, and specifically a mafia hitman targeting Italian grocers who hadn't paid their protection money. So many of the victims, like we stated, were Italian immigrants and grocery store owners, and a group that was often extorted by organized crime in the early 20th century. So the Axeman's precision and ability to evade capture could point to someone who knew how to cover their tracks, like a seasoned criminal. He also left no fingerprints, no witnesses, and never got caught. So that sounds like somebody who knew that what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember. But the 19-year-old girl, was she also an Italian grocer, or was she random?
She was random. And so that's where like some of like these theories are like disproven. Because,
I guess she could have also been related to somebody too.
Yeah, because there's another one, and I didn't go into this one because people are skeptical about whether or not it was the Axeman. But there was this woman and family that was attacked, and like while it happened with an axe, it didn't fit his MO, and it felt like kind of off. But there were like similar things to it.
And then it could also be like an imitation killer or something. Right.
Another theory.
Oh.
But also in that attack on the family, it was like this woman with her kid and the husband, and the woman and the husband lived, and their 2-year-old daughter was killed.
Oh.
They also weren't positive if she was actually hit in the head with an axe, or there was blood on one of the lamps and they could have used the lamp as the attacking object. So that's why it's kind of like, was it Axeman or was it like somebody else?
Yeah.
So there are some of like, again, there's lots more stories that people attribute to Axeman that are unsolved, but some of them don't always match. So that's why.
Yeah.
Third theory is the racial hatred theory. With a lot of immigrants coming in, obviously, this is going to have some tension rising, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So some people believe the Axeman's attacks were racially motivated. Most of the victims were Italian immigrants, and anti-immigrant sentiment was high in the early 1900s. Let's be very clear, we are not on an anti-immigrant side.
Yeah.
Like nervous laughter, that wasn't supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Italians were often viewed as outsiders, and they faced discrimination from wealthier established communities. So, like you said, almost all of the victims were Italian, or they were connected to an Italian immigrant or the community. Mm-hmm. And the Axeman, so the theory is like the Axeman may have been specifically targeting grocers as well because they represented more of like the successful immigrant population, and that pissed him off. Mm-hmm. Supernatural theory.
I like that one.
I know. Had to throw it in there for you. So, like I said, it's New Orleans, and they have a lot of, paranormal stuff going on. So some people believe that Axeman wasn't human at all. They say he was a ghost, a demon, or some other supernatural entity. So the reason they believe this is because he seemed to appear and disappear without a trace. No one ever saw him clearly, and he left no fingerprints or other physical evidence behind. New Orleans has that rich history of ghost stories, voodoo, and supernatural legends, so it's easy to imagine Axeman as part of that lore.
And he also left a letter saying he was.
His letter to the Times-Picayune was weird. He claimed to be a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell, which only fueled the idea that he wasn't human.
Yeah. I feel like he was probably going through all the theories and was like, ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. He's like, let's see how far I can take this one.
Yeah.
Okay. The copycat theory. Some people believe the Axeman wasn't just one person, but it was actually multiple killers. The idea is that the original Axeman may have started the attacks, but after his letter became public, other people started copying his methods. So why this is why this makes sense, or could make sense, is the Axeman's attacks were spread out over 18 months, which is a very long time for one person to stay active without getting caught. Some of the later attacks had slight differences from the earlier ones, like the level of violence or the way the crime scenes were left. And this is the biggest thing that they suggest could be why it was possibly different people copying Axeman and trying to get in on the trend.
Mm-hmm.
This one's my favorite.
Can't wait to hear it.
So it's a little like tongue-in-cheek, but some people think that Axeman's letter was basically a weird PR stunt for Jazz.
You would like that one.
Yeah. So the Axeman's letter is obsessed with jazz. He literally says he'll spare anyone who's playing jazz music, which is power move.
Yeah.
And then after the letter was published, jazz became even more popular in New Orleans, and people were throwing jazz parties and hiring bands just to stay safe.
I could see that because I could see them doing it the first night and then being like, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah. We should do this more often. Well, that is the story of the Axeman of New Orleans.
That was a good one. I
like,
think that's one of my like top 3.
Yeah, really?
And yeah, they change sometimes. Well, I mean, they've changed. Obviously, we're on like episode 21. Okay. But it's newly in my top 3. I really liked that one.
Thanks. I thought you would because there's a little bit of the paranormal.
I liked how there was a theory for both of us.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
But yeah, that was a fun one. That's been one that's been on my list for a long time, but I'm excited I finally got to do it. I just wanted to get all the research down. There's just so much about him because it is like a big like urban legend and stuff.
Yeah.
So there were things I had to leave out just because this could have been a 2-hour
forever.
Yeah, but you guys got the gist. And
yeah,
if you know the story of the Axeman, you know the jazz night, and that's the big one we got to talk about.
Hell yeah. Well, we got to make a trip out there.
Yeah.
People 100%.
We need to have jazz like queued up on our phones though, just in case, so we can like
we do.
Yeah. It's like kryptonite.
Now that I heard that story. Okay, well, that wraps that up. And if anyone wants to send us any scary stories for our next bonus episodes, Colleen will spell it out for you.
IGSTTY stories@gmail.com. And you can follow us, DM us, drop us a comment on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at IGSTTpod. So yeah.
IGSTTY.
IGSTTY pod.
Yeah. And don't forget to rate us and review us. Let us know your favorite episode or something.
Yeah. Would love to know that.
All right. Well, thanks for
Later.
listening.